Coming up on Unwritten. So at 55, you felt like you had to start over.
Our desires are driving the expansion of the universe. When you're no longer afraid of who you are, you can look to everything without fear. You can look to yourself without fear.
If you're thinking like, I don't want to live anymore, I'm depressed,
Yeah.
your body's going to start breaking down itself.
Yeah, because our world is constantly expanding, and it's expanding because of our desires. And so as our desires move from us out into the world, they become, and then they turn around and they call to us. And when they call to us, we're called to the actions, we're called to the resources, we're called to the connections, whatever it takes to actually have that thing come to fruition.
How does one begin to really focus?
So yeah, one rule, you got to do it. One skill, learn it, practice it, get better at it for the rest of your life. You'll continue to refine that skill for the rest of your life. And then one habit, just practice it whenever you think of it. Turn around your entire life. I did.
Well, Ramona, welcome to the podcast. I ask my guests all the same introduction question, and here it is. Can you please tell me who Ramona is, really, and what moments in your life have shaped the path leading to who you are now and what you're most passionate about today?
Yeah, wow, great question. And Thomas, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you. I am so looking forward to this. So who am I? That's what you're asking me. I'm so shaped by my past, just as we all are, and I'm also shaped by my desires leading out into the future. And so I know that we're going to talk a lot about my past and what led me to where I am now, and what I do and why I do it, and all of that. And I just really feel like I am defined most by my desires. And I have a very strong belief that our desires are divine, and I wasn't raised to believe that. I was raised to believe that my desires were something to be kind of embarrassed about, or maybe even ashamed about. But I know now that all of our desires are divine, and that the desires that we have shape who we are, they shape who we become, they shape everyone around us, and they shape the entire world. In other words, our desires are driving the expansion of the universe. So I like to focus on dreams and hopes and desires. That's what I like to speak about most, with even just with hanging out with friends, sitting on a boat, listening to the birds, sitting in the sun, whatever that activity is, whether I'm
Yeah.
hard at work or visiting with friends or spending, quality time with loved ones, whatever it is. I like focusing on our thoughts and our dreams and our feelings and our hopes. So that's mostly who I am. I'm kind of always forward looking and not like to worry about the future. I'm very much focusing on staying in the present, the right here, the right now, because that's where I am. And what I like to talk about is my hopes and dreams and everybody else's hopes and dreams. And I like helping other people's hopes and dreams come true. It's just a huge pleasure for me.
So, what are your hopes, dreams, and desires currently?
Oh, lots of them. We can't stop from having our desires. I mean, they're always bubbling forth. If you stub your toe, then you want to be pain free. If you're hungry, you want to eat. And so my
Mm,
greatest ones are to impact the world, to bring the message to the world that there is always hope. That's probably the biggest message I want to give. I mean, it's so much higher than that, but on the other hand, there are a lot of people that need that message of hope. I was one of those people
mm-hmm,
10 years ago. I needed
mm,
hope, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know there was such a thing. I had prepared to
mm-hmm.
to leave, without it. So there's
Yeah.
always hope, and the all is well thing. It's maybe sounds a little bit overused or trite or something, but it is so true. Like, all is
Mm,
well, and if it feels like not all is well, then we're
mm,
just looking at it in the wrong way. We're focusing it
mm.
on it in the wrong way. So that's my greatest hope, is to bring that message to as many people as possible. I think we can all benefit from hearing it, even if we already know it. And if we don't
Yeah.
know it, it can be a life changer, a game changer, a total, a total everything changer. So yeah, that's my biggest desire.
To bring more hope into people's lives.
Absolutely.
What is hope?
Hope is love.
Hope is love.
Hope is love. When you have love, you have hope. Hope and faith and love and trust, they're all very closely related. And I believe that everything, everyone, is made of love. The entire universe. It's the only matter in the universe. And so when we don't feel loved,
Mm-hmm.
we're just we're just looking at it the wrong. We're focusing on it in a way that pinches off our perception of it. We can't make it go away, but we can
Mm-hmm.
convince ourselves it's not there. That's what I had done 10 years ago. And that's what so many people do.
Mm-hmm.
I see so many people convincing themselves there's no love here for me. And that's the most desolate feeling. And nobody has to feel that way ever again.
So you lost your life partner.
Hmm.
Were you married to her?
No, we weren't allowed to get married at that point. She died in 2014, about 6 months before they made marriage, gay marriage,
Oh
legal.
wow.
Yeah. So we'd been together 24 years. We were married in every
Oh
other way,
wow.
just not legally. We shared our homes. We shared all of our resources. We went everywhere together,
Mm-hmm.
did everything together. But no, it was before legal marriage.
Are you okay to share how you felt about initially how you felt when that happened and what those initial feelings were like and how you finally looked forward and
Sure.
had more hope for
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny when I remember that time period. I was very upset. I mean, I was crying and I was verklempt, as they say, and I was at a loss. But there was
Mhm.
that the hopelessness was so complete that I didn't even question it. It was so complete. It occupied
Mm.
everything as far as I could tell. It was everything. It was the only thing that existed was that loss. And so, the way I say it now is I felt like my only source of unconditional love had just left the planet. So
Mm.
that's a kind of artificial or intellectualized viewpoint of it. In the moment,
Mhm.
nothing existed anymore, including me, even though I was still here. It was just a matter of going through the motions to get rid of the, kind of like taking out the trash almost or something. Like it just
Mm.
it just there was no reason to stay. So now that's more
Mhm.
extreme than most people experience, I think. Most of us, what is that famous quote? Lead lives of quiet desperation, right? So we
Mm.
lose track of source or God or universe or whatever you want to call, whatever's
Mhm.
greater than us, and
Mhm.
we lose track of it. We lose connection with it, which means we're losing connection with ourselves. So it's a very
Mm.
lonely. It's why I wrote the book. I had a book just come out a couple months ago, From Lonely to Fearless. So that
Mm.
journey from lonely to fearless is everything. And I call it lonely. You could call it depressed. You could call it grief stricken. You could call it a lot of things, embarrassed, ashamed. There's just all different ways that we can express that disconnection from self. But
Mm.
when we get reconnected to self, anything's possible. Hence the fearless. When you're no longer afraid of who you are, you can look to everything without fear. You can look to yourself without fear. It
Mm.
starts with looking inside, right? When you can look in the mirror without fear, then you can look at everything else without fear. So it's that journey inwards to reclaim. We don't have to go find it. We don't have to manufacture it. It's right there.
Mhm.
We just have to let it back in again. And so that's what I did. I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate. The phone rang. Fate intervened. Her best friend
Mhm.
called and said, "Oh my gosh, Ramona, I just heard about Betty, and I'm so sorry." And I was very upset about I was focused on at the time some rings that we had lost, some rings of Betty's that we had lost while she was sick, and after she died, like, so all I could think about, I was going crazy about these rings. And I
Mm.
was started talking about that to Lordell. She said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, you got to stop thinking like that." And I said, "Well, yeah, I mean, that's true, but I'm 55 years old. I've been trying to learn how to control my thoughts, my whole life." And she said, "Well, have you ever heard of Abraham Hicks?" And I said, "No, what's that?" And I thought it was a
Mm.
disease, like Braxton Hicks.
Yeah.
But she told me about it, and I started to have hope from that moment forward. That started my entire life. That moment started who I am right now, 10 years ago.
So you're 65 now?
I am.
You still look young.
Thank you.
You look good for your age.
I look younger and younger all the time. The more I learn, the more I practice, the more alignment I get. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's actual studies on that. Like, the more depressed and um, like hopelessness and all just loneliness and it they say depression and loneliness is like more harmful than smoking a pack of cigarettes or something a
I
day.
believe that with all of my being. I've seen that so much. People just dying from
Yeah,
hatred or
your
dying from
body
anger.
just
Yeah.
yeah, your body doesn't because it's like your body doesn't want to live on anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that thought, like your brain and your body is becoming aligned, and it's like if you're thinking like I don't want to live anymore, I'm depressed,
Yeah.
your body's gonna start breaking down
Yeah.
itself.
Exactly. It really is true. I've seen people reverse from that too.
Mm,
Finally get, like be on death's door. I've literally seen two different people that I know personally do this where they were at death's door and they had an epiphany or an awakening or an enlightenment or whatever you want to call it. They found themselves. They found love. They found love in what waver they would describe that or explain it. And
mm-hmm.
it started working a miracle in their body and they're doing really well today. There's just always hope. I guess that's my message. It sounds kind of, I don't know, said before, but there's always hope.
I think you just have to believe in it. You have to believe in that hope. Because if you don't believe in it, then what? Like what's the point? So how do you start getting people, and how did you yourself start really believing in this hope? Because I do believe that when you have this mindset of hope and positivity and alignment, you can have a vision, a better, healthier, more positive vision of yourself in the future. But how do
Absolutely.
you initially start to believe it?
Well, what I teach is focus.
Hmm.
Focus and then eventually authenticity. So those are the kind of the key starting places or the key, well, they're not the starting places, they're the start and the end. They're the everything. They're the omega,
Yeah.
whatever that is. So yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
and that's what helped me. So when Lordella said to me, "You've got to stop
Mm-hmm.
thinking like that," I felt like she was the only person on the planet who knew what I was going through because she had just lost her beloved husband a few years before. And
Mm-hmm.
I watched her go through that. And I remember thinking at the time, boy, I would just be done if that ever happened to me. If Betty had died, but and then she did. So I felt like she was the only person who understood what I was going through, how I was feeling, what I was thinking, even though I wasn't even telling her like really what I was thinking. But she knew
Mm-hmm.
somehow anyway. And what she taught me in that first 5 minutes that saved my life, the first 5 minutes of the act that saved my life, she taught me about focus. And I felt like I had been trying to learn how to focus, or I didn't know about focus, but I'd been trying to control my thoughts literally my whole life, my entire adult life, therapy and 12-step meetings and all this stuff. And what she started saying about focus made me realize that there was another whole thing that I had never tried, that I didn't understand. And I didn't know it yet. but I knew that I didn't know it yet, and I knew that she was telling me it would work. And so that was enough to
Mm.
give me hope, right? That's all we need is a little spark. And so I started studying it the way she was teaching it and the way Abraham Hicks teaches it. She sent me a bunch of CDs that she had from subscription series that she'd had from several years before. She told me the names of two books to go and get. Went and got them from the library that day, and of course ordered them on Amazon, and they came a little bit later. But the ability to control your focus, we all have it, and most of us don't know we have it. And
Mm.
it's the most powerful mechanism we own. Because as we choose our focus, think about an autistic child. Basically, an autistic person is someone who has less ability to control their focus than the rest of us because
Mm.
outside stimulation feels overwhelming. They don't know how to screen it out, right? That's the definition. Don't touch me. Don't look at me. Don't make loud noises. And so most of us learn from a very early age how to screen out. You know, if you live next to a train track, pretty soon you don't notice the trains going by. If you live next to
Mm.
some roosters that crow every morning, pretty soon you don't notice them. We screen things
Yeah.
out. And so we
Mm-hmm.
are focusing geniuses, but we don't know it. And we're never taught in school how to control our focus. So as you start to learn how to control your focus, everything starts to change almost immediately. It's like magic, which is funny because it's just like
Mm.
if you've ever taken a picture with a camera, you position the lens right where you want it, and then you control the focus to bring it to be so you either
Yeah,
focus on the
yeah.
foreground or the background. You choose your
Yeah.
focus and you take the picture. We're doing the same things vibrationally all day long, only we're not typically aware of it. So when you start learning a
Mm.
really basic skill, it's really easy to learn, it's really easy to practice, it's easy to understand, and everything starts to change.
So at 55, you felt like you had to start over because of this significant loss and grief
Yeah.
and life change. And you found Abraham Hicks, you said,
Abraham Hicks.
and you started studying how to focus.
hmm
During this time, what were you focusing on?
Well, I was learning to understand what I like the organic mechanism known as me was
Mm-hmm.
focusing
Mm-hmm.
on. So
Mm-hmm.
if something came on the TV and it was upsetting and I continued to watch it, then that's what I was focusing on.
Mm.
And then I started to notice, wow, that's I'm starting to feel tight inside, or I'm starting to feel a bit, angsty,
Yeah.
anxious, or
The
like,
news.
yeah, the news
Yeah.
and
Uh,
politics, and oh my gosh. And
it's
so
so draining.
it really is. So I learned, first thing I learned was turn off the TV, turn off the news, don't
Mm.
watch it. And of course, then the question is, well, how can I be a concerned
How can
citizen,
you
right? Like, how can I be a responsible
how can you
person?
know what's going on?
Yeah, what if I miss
Yeah.
something? Well, you got to decide. Everybody has to decide at any given moment, at any given
You
circumstance or
know what I
topic.
I tell people
What?
that tell me that? I say if it's important enough, I'll find out
Absolutely.
eventually. Like if there's
Absolutely.
a hurricane coming, I'll start noticing something. Like people will start packing up, or I'll go to the
Mm-hmm.
store and the stores will be empty, and I'll be wondering like what's going on,
Right.
and then they'll be like, "Oh, a hurricane's coming." Like
Right.
I didn't have to watch the news for that.
Right. Or you drive down the street and you
Yeah,
see the flags are at half mast, and so you say,
yeah,
why are the flags at
something.
half mast? Oh, so and so died.
Mhm.
Okay.
You
So
just
yeah.
if it's
So you
important
just
enough, you'll figure it
exactly.
out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everything like so let's say you take that entire universe as 100, right? As a number.
Mm.
And let's say 99% of it isn't important and 1% is important. Just, an
Mm.
arbitrary number. That
Mhm.
99% that's not important, it's all specifically designed to manipulate the way you're thinking and the way you're feeling. It's designed to sell
Mm.
product, to sell attention, to sell bandwidth, to sell,
Mhm.
eyes on products or whatever it's designed to sell.
Or
It's
even
designed
an
to manipulate.
ideation.
Yeah,
Even the
exactly.
ideation, like
Especially in
propaganda.
ideation. Yeah.
Yeah, like the I see politics as marketing
Mhm.
and taking your focus away from what you really want to focus on
Yes.
into certain ideations that they want you to believe in,
Exactly.
and it's that's why people call like certain demographics of politics, they call them sheep or whatever,
Right.
because it's like you like if that's all you consume, you're just becoming a sheep and you're just being herded into this
Right.
ideology that they want you to believe in,
Right.
and anything outside of that ideology is it's wrong
Mhm.
or scary or
Yeah.
fearful.
Yeah, because
So
they use control and fear is the majority of the manipulation methods that they use, whether they want you to buy
mhm.
something or sell something or not do
Or
something or do
inject
something,
something.
yeah, or vote for
No, just-
something or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, so when you start letting go of all of that, now you've got a little free bandwidth going on that maybe you haven't had in quite a while since
Mhm.
you were a kid, maybe. And you can start to
Mhm.
choose your focus. And if you choose your focus based on how it feels, now you're following your intuition and your guidance. That's another thing we just don't teach people. We don't teach kids how to follow their own guidance. The closest we come, when I was a kid, there was something called stranger danger. It's how they taught kids to
Mm.
not be
Yeah.
molested, right? Well, it didn't work because it's
Yeah.
very easy for any adult to quickly convince a child that they're not really a stranger. I'm a friend of your mom's or whatever.
Or
So then they
overpower
started
you.
teaching, yeah, or
Yeah.
overpower you, yeah. But so they started teaching the uh-oh feeling, much more effective
Mm.
because everybody's got an uh-oh feeling. We all know what that
It's
feels like.
fear. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Like, okay, my spidey sense is going off right now. I don't think I should trust this person or this event or not go down. I need to go there instead of there or whatever it is. And
Mhm.
so that uh-oh feeling, that's our guidance. That's the entire
Mm.
universe speaking to us through our bodies. And
Mhm.
that's what I teach all day long is first of all how to do it, and second of all why it is so amazingly important, and then just
Mm.
how to leverage all of that into getting a lot more of what you want, because so many of us go through our lives and we never actually get what we want. Sometimes we don't even know what we want, and then if we know what we want and then we get frustrated because like we
Mm.
we can't get it, we can't have it somehow.
Like right now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, now it's instant gratification. Now, I think that is what, like, besides mindset and all that aside, I think distraction and instant gratification are one of the two biggest things that are taking away from what people want to achieve.
But isn't that still just focus? If you're
Mm.
controlling your own focus, you're aware of your own focus, you can keep the eye on the ball, the eye on the
Mm-hmm.
prize, or whatever you want to say it, no matter what. In other words, like I'm looking right at you, right? Somebody could be going all like this, all in front of me, but I've got control of my focus.
Mm-hmm.
So when you control your own focus, you control your own destiny. You control everything about that you're creating in your life. You cannot be
Mm.
distracted by anything if it doesn't fit within your guidance as you choose your focus. It's an absolutely game-changing skill and remarkably simple.
You say people all have an inherent value and assets.
Absolutely.
What if somebody feels like they're not valuable or they don't have any assets to offer or
That is
give?
such a great question, Thomas. I hear that all the time, but I don't have any personal assets. I don't have any money. I don't have good
Mm.
looks. I don't have, much time left. I'm old or I'm too young. Nobody takes me seriously or whatever. But you know
Mm-hmm.
what? Our true personal assets are our guidance, like the focus that I was just talking about, and our desires. Those things that we were taught were
Mm.
very pesky and pretty shameful. That's our superpower. Because our desires are divinely led. And when you understand that your desire and your focus and those, your guidance, those are your true personal assets, then oh, I actually do have some assets. Actually, I have
Mm.
a lot of assets I've been trying to hide and look away from. Like my assets are over there, and desires. Ooh, that's bad. Ooh, gosh, focus on things that I'm not supposed to focus on. Oh, bad, bad. That'll
Mm-hmm.
get me in trouble. But when you can really tune in to those assets, which of course is what I help people do and what I practice every day, it's it's a completely different world. You live in a completely different world as soon as you understand this approach. It changes everything. So it's a total transformation.
Hmm. I guess so. When we discover our personal assets and desires, how do we begin to leverage them for our benefit?
Yeah, great question. So I love the idea of leverage.
Hmm.
I am a real estate investor also. It's one of the other things that I
Hmm.
really have done my entire life. I've always loved real estate. And they talk about leverage in real estate. It's where I
Hmm.
first learned the concept really well. Some people would learn it out digging ditches where you learn, the fulcrum, to pry something up. That's a form of
Oh
leverage, like
yeah.
you put a bolt, a board under something and you pry something up. And so that's
Oh
one way
yeah.
of leverage in finance. If you have $100,000, you can either buy a hundred
Hmm.
thousand dollar house, or you can buy 10 $100,000 houses and put $10,000 on each one, right? So
Hmm.
you can take a small
Yeah.
amount and use the bank to make up the rest and therefore buy a lot more properties. And that's
Hmm.
leverage. And so that basic concept, when you apply that on a spiritual basis, when you tap into all that you truly are, and you do that by controlling your focus, and I mean,
Hmm.
it gets more elaborate than that, but the basic thing is just start controlling your focus. Give yourself permission to choose what you focus on. Don't focus on what they or anybody else wants you to focus on. When I start choosing what I want to focus on and then I successfully focus on it, now there's my leverage. Because now
Hmm.
I can take those desires, I can take what I actually want and leverage that into what I get. Like I've got that fulcrum point. I've got that ability to spread my cash out over 10 different houses. It's the same concept. Spiritual leverage is exactly the same. It gives you the ability to pivot what I'm calling your personal assets, which is your guidance, your desires, into divine creation, let's just say. So, like in the law of attraction, they say you can manifest anything you want. You're creating, your own world. The Christians, all the major religions have the same concept. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
deeply buried or not so well, pontificated, but it's
Hmm.
all in there. If you read the Bible, you read the Quran, just all there. It's always about that thoughts lead to things. In the beginning there was this, and then there was a thought, and then it
Yeah.
was good, and it was created. And so that's a demonstration or presentation of how we're actually creating our world as we go, because our world is constantly expanding, and it's expanding because of our desires. And so as our desires move from us out into the world, they become. And then they turn around and they call to us. And when they call to us, we're called to the actions, we're called to the resources, we're called to the connections, whatever it takes to actually have that thing come to fruition. So within that framework, your leverage is actually it's not only exponential, it's like infinite. You can leverage
Hmm.
anything into anything with that spiritual power of leverage.
How does one begin to really focus? Let's say you claim you have ADHD or claim you can't focus. What are some things that they can do to really, I guess, get a control on their focus?
Yeah, great question. So, focus, the best way to start noticing
Hmm.
your own focus is to notice what feels good.
Hmm.
So, I have this I teach one rule, one skill, one habit. So the one rule is do whatever it takes to feel good. Now, some
Hmm.
people don't feel like they have permission to do whatever it takes to feel good. They don't have permission to feel good because
Hmm.
they only feel like they have permission to do what other people think, what will please others. Like the idea of pleasing
Hmm.
yourself is almost like an act of rebellion. So
Hmm.
you have to accept that. You have to embrace that somehow, like, okay, I'm gonna just try this. I'll play your silly game. I'll try it once. Okay, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to feel good. And then the real
Hmm.
skill is to learn to discern what actually feels good. So the commercials will tell you, go and buy this thing or eat this stuff or drink this alcohol or whatever, and that's what will feel good.
Mm.
But we need to come back inside and say, okay, what actually feels good? And that's the skill. That's the skill that I probably teach the
Mm.
most. And then the habit is to allow everything to unfold naturally. So one rule, one skill, one habit, and that's the simplest place to start. If you can embrace the idea, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes to feel good. I'm going to trust myself long
Mm.
enough to actually feel into what feels good. And if you have ADHD, you know what feels good. You know, jiggling your fingers and your legs frequently will feel good,
Mm.
right? It's a way of like releasing steam. Okay, so do whatever it takes to feel good. Okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing. Now, my teacher's mad at me, or my parents are mad at me, my siblings are mad at me for doing all this stuff, right? There are lots of other ways, like saw an episode once on Shark Tank. It was a guy who had invented a thing that you just kind of wore on your. It was he called it the fidget, and it was very
Mm.
unnoticeable. It was a way of, and even the sharks that had some fidgety feelings felt it immediately release their entire body, like just total
Mm.
relax. So this is what I mean by do whatever it takes to feel good. So you do the one thing that feels good, the one thing that's available to you, and then
Mm.
you say, instead of just staying there, you say, okay, now how can I feel even better? What's the next thing I
Mm.
can do, whatever it takes to feel good? And then what's the next thing I can do to do whatever it takes to feel good? And by the time you've done that consistently with any level of skill, any level of commitment at all, things magically start to change in your life. Doesn't matter what the so-called problem is. It's the same solution all the time.
So you said one
One
rule.
rule, do whatever it takes to feel good.
That's it.
That's the rule. One skill,
Do whatever.
one
Or one
skill,
skill.
learn to discern what actually feels good. And that is a true skill. It takes some training, it takes some
Mm.
teaching. And then one habit,
One habit.
allow things to unfold naturally. That just means stop pushing. We humans, we have a tendency to push everything. I'm
Against the
impatient.
grain.
It should have
Yeah.
happened yesterday. I'm late. I have to do this now. What's wrong with me? How can I get this
Mm.
better? When you just relax within
Just let it
this
flow.
frame, right? Yeah, just let it flow. Exactly. That's all it means. So yeah, one rule, you got to do it. One skill, learn it, practice it, get better at it for the rest of your life. Like it continues to, doesn't matter where you come in on that continuum, you'll continue to refine that skill for the rest of your life. And then one habit, just practice it whenever you think of it. That's it. Turn around your entire life. I did.
Are you allowed to tell any stories of clients transformations
Yeah,
you've had?
absolutely. As long as I mean, I don't say their names, and I sometimes
Okay.
will blend maybe two different clients together so they're not so discernible, unless they've given me permission. The people have given me permission to do testimonials. I do just their words testimonials. But yeah, I would never say, "Oh yeah, my client Joe did this and
Bob,
that."
yeah,
Yeah, right.
and his
But
last
yeah, I
name and
can.
address. No,
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
and his social security number.
What is
Yeah.
one of the like I don't want to say craziest, but like what is one? Maybe give me one common one and then one like just not so common one and how they made that transformation.
Sure. Well, probably the most interesting. I don't know.
Hmm.
They're all interesting. The one that
Yeah.
comes to mind is a younger woman who came and started meeting with me privately. And back then didn't have the group. I only met privately. And
Hmm.
we worked together for quite a while. We were talking about her job, which she wasn't happy with, her marriage, which she wasn't happy with, her general family, which she was having trouble with, and some of her personal goals, which I actually won't go in, but
Hmm.
physiological health and body type goals. And
Hmm.
we worked together for several months, and she was making great strides. In fact, she lost her job. They picked up on her vibrationally, lost her job. It was the best thing that ever happened to her. So
So
she
you
was able
don't
to,
align here.
be on
Yeah.
unemployment and really start to figure things out. And we had been working for together for quite a while. And one day, towards the end of one of the sessions, she said, she brought up the fact that she had been institutionalized as a teenager for anorexia and bulimia, and she still kind of hated her
Mm.
body. And we immediately started focusing on her body now that she had brought it up. And it was a game changer. It just everything started to flow after that. Everything that she'd been wanting,
Mm.
not immediately, but it
It's like
just
a
it started to
valve
cascade. Yeah,
that you just like,
exactly. Like you turn the
and then,
valve on. Yeah. So, this whole not loving our bodies, that gets in the way of doing whatever it takes to
mm,
feel good, if you think about it. Because if you don't trust your body, if I don't trust my body, then how do I know what feels good? And we
mm.
women are taught to hate our bodies. It doesn't matter how
Oh,
beautiful we
body
are.
image.
Yeah,
Yeah.
body image is huge. And so you have a lot of women walking around like the walking wounded, like, oh, my body is horrible. I wasn't able to feel anything from, like, I felt things from here up, like, oh, I'm happy, oh, I'm sad, but I didn't
Mm.
feel it down here. I felt it from there up. And that's been part of my transformation, is
Or you
learning to,
didn't allow
yeah,
it to feel.
exactly, exactly. So when I got in touch with that, and this
Mm.
is probably the biggest change for my clients also, all the clients, is that really starting to really love your body in this way that our society doesn't really support, even for men. It's
Mm.
we're not encouraged to say, I love my elbow. I have the cutest elbow in the entire world. The way we would talk about or to a dog, or a kitten
Oh
or
yeah,
a
yeah.
child. We don't talk to ourselves that way. We say, ugh, this flab. Oh my God, I've got love handles. Oh, wow. It's
Mm.
love is everywhere, but we pinch it off. And when you start letting it back in again, you start loving your body, you start loving yourself. Pretty soon it's really easy to love everybody else in the whole world. And just think what our world would be
Mm.
like if everybody was in touch with how much they loved themselves and everybody else. Wouldn't that be a different world?
No, it's crazy because I started watching this show on Netflix. It's like the prison show. It was this like high crime, like uh, very. They lock up like the worst criminals
Mhm.
basically, and the whole Netflix show was they were gonna, because they were locked up for 23 hours of the day,
Whoa.
and they only get 1 hour to be out, like, and that's just to like eat basically, like
Wow.
eat and I think shower or something, because I don't think they have showers in their room, like eat and shower. And then they went from that to letting them all be free to roam around the block, like the cell block.
Mhm.
And after watching just a couple episodes of that show, I noticed, I mean, there was like murderers in there, drug dealers, what's like the highest crime, felonies, like all felonies and like the
Mhm.
highest crime rates. And the one thing I noticed is that they just were all filled with like hate and like
Yeah.
anger
Yeah.
and some sort of frustration. And that was like a common thing with all of them, is
Mhm.
like they all had this same like in deep ingrained like hatred
Yeah.
or frustration and anger. And
Yeah.
whenever they reached a certain point, oh, I just want to punch somebody in the face, or I just want to do something bad.
Right.
And it's like that's why I think like people think it sounds like cringe or cliche or whatever, but I feel like if everybody just had that same mindset of love, none of that like
Yeah.
you wouldn't let these uh anger and frustrate whatever emotions, you won't let them boil up so much that you want to hurt somebody,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. We can learn to catch those kinds of feelings earlier and earlier. The sooner you catch it, like nip it in the bud, that saying,
Mhm.
nip it in the bud. If you catch that way early and don't let it gain any momentum, because you've got love and joy and freedom in abundance, those things have momentum, then there's no room for that other stuff. It's like it almost like
Mm.
bounces off, like your Teflon, right? It just bounces right off. Like, yeah, so and so thinks I should be mad, but I don't have time to be mad. It's a completely
Oh
different
yeah.
experience from mad all the time, like what you're describing. I can't even imagine what that would feel like physically to be so enraged all the time. I
Just
think it would be
always
exhausting.
tight.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like you're
yeah,
always tight, you're always on eggshells, you're always like they say that's why they're there because they're like
exactly.
that, and one wrong move, one wrong thing you say, you just want to attack. Like you're
Right.
always in fight mode, the
Fight
fight or
mode.
flight
Yeah,
mode.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're always everybody in that prison is just always in fight mode,
Right.
and some maybe in flight mode, but yeah, I think for me, I always tell people when I get uh well, anger and frustration to me is just too exhausting to hold on to.
Exactly.
It's
Same
like
for
when you
me.
when you start holding on to it, and it's just like you feel more tired, you feel like
Yeah.
it's part of your it's using some of your resources that you that you could be
Right.
using for something else.
Right, right. Well, that whole fight or flight, and then they've added later freeze and fawn, those were all trauma
Mm,
responses. And
mm,
so when you've got someone who's undergone some sort of a trauma, and then maybe another trauma and maybe another trauma, maybe they were, born in some inner city and they've seen their father, shot down right in front of them or whatever. Car
mm,
accidents, I mean, all kinds of things can cause trauma, but if we don't help someone through that trauma to release it, not to hold on to it, but
mm,
to release it, not to memorialize it, and make a law about it and all that stuff, but to actually release it,
mm.
then we don't have people that are all bound up in trauma response. But until we learn how to do that consistently as a society, I think we're always going to have people that are bound up in their trauma responses.
Mm-hmm.
But that change of focus, they've done studies with inmates like you're describing, and they have
Yeah.
them take care of dogs and horses, two different program or a bunch of different programs, two different animals that I know of. One, they learn how to take care for a dog, and the other one they come and learn how to care for horses. And just changing that
Mm.
focus, just that little bit, it's not actually a little bit, it's a huge change, but it seems easy.
It
Look,
seems
just
small,
take care
yeah.
of a
Just
dog,
take
right?
care
Yeah.
of it.
But
Yeah.
changing that focus from me and my trauma to now this innocent animal, that's a change of focus. And if you can get
Mm,
somebody to change their focus in a way that feels good, because me and my trauma doesn't feel good, this dog feels good. Bad, good.
mm,
Bad, good. It's an easy choice. Once you understand that you've got this choice, then now you can start
mm-hmm,
focusing. Now, once you've chosen one thing that feels good to focus on, you can do a second thing, and then a third
mm,
thing, and then a fourth thing. And it gets easier and easier and easier. It only takes one thing. Choose one thing to focus on that feels better than all the other things, even if it still doesn't feel great. Choose there, start there, and then work your way up. Keep going, keep going. It is the answer to everything. It really is.
So what does or where does alignment play into all of this? And what does alignment
That's a great
mean
question.
to you?
So alignment to me means feeling like, so that connection between me and me is literally like a straight line alignment. And
Mm,
then the more kind of ambiguous interpretation is just basically, if I'm in alignment, then I feel good. I'm
mm-hmm,
feeling my own emotions. I'm aware of my own thoughts. I am in alignment with whatever I want to call my upper self, whether that's source or God or
mm-hmm,
Mother Earth, infinite intelligence, universe, whatever I call that, or however I feel that. When I'm lined up with it, then it's almost like things click into place. There's a feeling to it. For me, it's a feeling. Rather, I
mm,
mean, it's a for a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of words to describe it and demonstrate it and all that
yeah.
stuff. But for me, it's a feeling. It's like click. Oh,
Mm.
it just like everything else just falls away. Like whatever the kind of dirt or angst or worry or pettiness or whatever might be going on, it's just like there it goes. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, click. It's a feeling. It's a feeling.
How do you people begin to live a more aligned life? Because I know alignment is individual.
Mhm.
It's on an individual basis.
Mhm.
Just like you said, what feels good to you. You can't, like, if you're living a life of a square, you can't fit a
Right.
circle in there, a
Exactly.
circle peg.
Exactly.
So you have to transform yourself and to live into alignment with the square. So how do people start to, I guess, live a more aligned life?
Well, I mean, of course, you start with the focus. So if your focus has been consistently recently, if you have a strong momentum of focus outward, you'd want to start
Mm,
changing your focus inward so that you'd even know, like, am I in alignment or am I not in alignment? I can't tell. If I can't
mm,
focus inwards, I can't tell. So when I can start focusing inwards, then I can start to say, okay, sometimes in alignment, sometimes I'm not in alignment. Let me see what the difference is. Oh, when I'm yelling at my kids, or when my husband's yelling at me, or beating on me, or whatever's going on, I'm out of alignment.
mm,
But when I'm sitting
mm,
quietly and enjoying the breeze in the trees, or sitting quietly with my family members and we're having a wonderful conversation, or, tickling the kids, or playing on the floor, and like these things that feel
mm,
so good, and I say, wow, I'm really in alignment now. Now, the first tendency always is to go after whatever condition we associate with it. Okay, like I was outside and I felt in alignment, so I'm going to go outside a lot. And that can absolutely be a
mm,
first step. And eventually, you want to learn how to control that focus unconditionally. In other words, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, the things that you can control, that they're not subject to the conditions outside, whether
mm,
it's people or places or weather or whatever it is. So start small, start easy, start gentle, but do whatever it takes to feel good. If you realize that, oh, I don't even know how to do that, look at your focus. Practice focus. Decide on something to focus. Once you start focusing and you're feeling whether you're feeling good or not, now you're off to the races. Now it's just a matter of getting better at it, getting faster at it, making it easier, making it more fun. Yeah. But that's where I would start.
So for the older crowd, I'm not sure if any older crowd listens to I know my stats are like between early 20s to early 40s. That's like the most of my audience.
Okay.
But for the older crowd and anyone who maybe you're not old and you feel too old, like me, I'm about to be 30, and that's like a pivotal moment for a lot of people. So, for anyone who feels too old, too overwhelmed, maybe not good enough to, I like to call it pivot, do something new,
Hmm.
start over. I feel like this could be any area of your life, to be honest. You
It
could
really
be
could.
in your early 20s and
Yeah.
you got a degree in something, but you feel like you don't want to
Yeah.
use that degree, so now you want to do something else.
Yeah. The now
What
what?
advice,
Yeah.
yeah, what advice would you give these people that either have made pivots in their life or maybe afraid to make a pivot or start over? What would you tell them?
I would say do whatever it takes to feel good. Does that sound too simplistic? It really isn't. And
Hmm.
it's comprehend it's not simplistic. I know I've purposely tried to make it sound
It's like easier
simplistic.
said than done. Yeah.
Well, maybe. Maybe. It
Maybe.
depends on what your background is. Like the example you
Hmm.
gave, let's say you're a college graduate and you've just graduated with a degree in, let's say, finance, because everybody says you can make
Hmm.
a lot of money in finance. Only you
Yeah.
hate finance, and you really
Oh
just want to be
yeah,
a
yeah.
guitar player or play video games,
Oh
or
yeah.
whatever the thing is. So when that person hears do whatever it takes to feel good, they go, well, yeah, well, I tried that. I tried playing video games for
Hmm.
a living. Nobody would pay me to do it. Or I tried playing guitar and I couldn't get in a band, or I had a band and we couldn't get any gigs, or we had gigs but we, couldn't get a record, or whatever it
Hmm.
was. Like there's always like that story, right? So from that place, when you get really in touch with what you really want, and let's say it is to be a musician. I started my life as a classical trumpet player. Now, if you
Oh
think that
wow.
pays well, you're wrong. It does not pay well. But that's what I
You'd
really
probably
wanted
have
to
to be
do.
like a savant or something in it. You'd have to be like a Mozart or something in it,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I mean, I at one point I realized it, in probably my late late 20s, I would say, man, I'm probably on the 97th percentile of trumpet players around the world. I had studied with the
Oh,
best. I
really?
went to the top conservatory in the
Yeah.
country and practiced and had all the right equipment and really 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 worked at it. Went around and took auditions and took private lessons from people all around the world. That didn't equate to a job in trumpet. you know?
Well, it's just like I like to make the analogy of a basketball player. They're all tall,
Yes.
whatever. If you were born short like me, I'm 5'5". If you're born 5'5" and you're a grown man, but you've been practicing basketball your entire life and you're a pro and whatever, you could do everything except dunk, but you can do everything else. Yeah, it's like some things just, you know, they just can't.
But that doesn't mean
It's
you
not impossible,
that
but
doesn't mean there's anything
yeah.
wrong with your desire though. Take that example you just
Mm,
gave. It's a beautiful example. There's nothing wrong with your desire. So there's
mm,
something that we call entanglement, which is so I've got a
mm,
desire here, and then I've got something that's entangling it. You might call that yearning. You might call that aching. Like in the pop music songs, they'll say, "Oh, I love you so much, you complete me. I can't live without you." So you've got a desire for a person or for sex or whatever it is you've got your desire for, and then you've got this entanglement that says, "But." I can't have it, but it's too expensive, but she doesn't like me back, but I'm not tall enough for the basketball thing, right? So that's
mm,
the entanglement. When you learn to discern what actually feels good, that entanglement can fall away. And now you've left with the pure desire, the love of basketball or the love of sports
mm,
or the love of whatever it is. Like the true love has nothing to do with your height. That's the entanglement. The only way to do
mm.
basketball is with the National, what is it? Basketball Association? I don't even know. Yeah, the NBA. So the
NBA.
only road for me to love basketball is through the NBA, and I'm too short. Well, so that's that
uh,
entanglement. You let that fall away and say, I love basketball. I could write about basketball. I could be an announcer about basketball. I could be a coach in basketball. I could be I don't know enough about basketball to keep going, but I'm sure there's like 10, 20, 50 other things that you can
yeah.
do about basketball or about whatever it is that you love. Because, see, here's the thing when you remove the entanglement, you can
Mhm.
really look at that desire. You can see it. The entanglement's almost like a film covering it. That entanglement falls
Yeah.
away. You look at that desire, it might not be actually about basketball, it might be about thrill, or it might be about,
Mm.
you know, sports in general, or it might be about
Mhm.
competition or
Mm.
challenges. It might actually end up being about mountain climbing or something else. In other words,
Something
this
else, yeah.
desire can be almost anything you want it to be because now it's free of entanglement. So that's really key.
That's good. That's good because I've read in the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita,
Hmm.
and they don't call it entanglement there. They call it attachment.
Yeah.
Just whatever you desire, if you can do it and you feel good while doing what you desire and whatever you want to do,
Hmm.
and if you can do it without uh, attachment or entanglement, like you say,
Hmm.
you can do it forever and live a,
Absolutely.
a more fulfilled life. But once you begin to add on to these attachments or contingencies,
Hmm.
that's when you get discouraged or you stop doing it, even though it once did feel good, but now
Yeah.
I have to get here in order to do it, or I have to do this in order to do it. But if you can do it without that entanglement and without that attachment, then you could do it forever, and you'll it's the path to being more fulfilled.
Absolutely, that is so beautiful. Yeah, and I actually used to call entanglement attachment until really about a month
Mm.
ago. But here's
Oh,
the thing
really?
about the word attachment, and I'm always looking for the best word, the word that serves the most people the best.
Yeah.
So attachment, when you say drop the attachment, many people think you mean don't care about that thing anymore. Like, of course I'm attached to her. I love her.
Oh,
Or of course
yeah.
I'm attached to this house. I was raised here. Like,
Yeah.
they see the word attachment as part of their desire. It's harder for them
Mm.
to separate it. When you call it entanglement, it's like an octopus with a bunch of legs, right? Or it's a film. It's like it's really separate from the desire itself. The attachment is easy for it to feel like part of the desire. It's the only reason I changed the word, but it's the same thing. What you had just said, beautiful quote and beautiful concept, and it's absolutely true. Let go of the attachment or the entanglement, whatever you want to call it, and deal
Yeah.
directly with the desire.
I think the new generation calls it unhinged.
Unhinged, yeah. Well,
Or
that's good for
they
me to
say like
know.
somebody they say somebody that like looks crazy. They call them unhinged. Like
Yeah.
he's unhinged. You can call it that for the new generation. Yeah, just
Okay.
be unhinged from the
Yeah, just get
desire.
unhinged.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, Ramona, do you have anything you'd like to cover before we move on?
I just really want everybody to know that I probably what I want everybody to know is that you don't have to do this alone.
Hmm.
The whole lonely to fearless thing, when we feel like we're out in the middle of the wilderness somewhere all by ourselves and everyone else that we know feels one way and we feel another way, it can be so lonely. And when you're trying to acquire these skills that we've been talking about, yeah, I agree. I make it sound easy, and it is easy when you have support, when you've got training, when you've got encouragement, you've got community, and that's what I provide. So I mean, I would just say to anybody in your audience, if you feel like you've already tried some of these things, or if you tried them after hearing about this and you feel like you need some support, reach out to me or reach out to somebody. Get support. You do not have to do it alone. I did a good bit of my growth and my expansion alone. I wanted to, like as a trumpet player, I would find somebody who could do what I
Hmm.
wanted to do, and I'd go take a private lesson with them. Well, there was nobody to
Uh.
take private lessons with on this. There was no
Yeah.
program where I could go and just, pay my money and sign up and learn it all, So that's why I do what I do, because I don't want anybody to feel like they have to be lonely or they have to try to do all this alone. There is help, there is hope, and it's all inside you right now, just like what was her name, Dorothy, with the ruby slippers in The Wizard of Oz. She finds out at the end of the movie
Oh.
she had the power all along to go home. She had to just click her. It's kind of like that. I know that's maybe
Yeah.
silly metaphor, but we have everything we need. But it gets covered over with an awful lot of conditioning from our society. And what I do
Yeah.
every day is help people release all of that and rediscover, remember who they really are. You don't have to go out and find it. You don't have to manufacture it. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to be worthy. You don't have to be, talented or smart. You've got it all, and just get back in touch with it. Do whatever it takes to get back in touch with it, and don't try to do it alone. It's not a solo sport. It's a team sport. Get back in touch. Yeah.
They say it's lonely at the top, and a lot of millionaires, billionaires reach a point in their life where they feel lonely.
I have not found that to be true. I
Even
think that's a I think that's a myth that's
that's a myth.
perpetuated by
Yeah.
people who are not wealthy, who are not happy.
Hmm.
Because what I find is the higher I go, the more I find other people like me who are living their best life, and they're
Hmm.
contributing and they're satisfied and they have mission and they have purpose and they know what it is and they're doing it, and it's very satisfying and it's very high vibing, it's very fun, it's very aligned. That's what I find. The higher I go,
Hmm.
that's the more of what I find. Yeah.
I'm trying to go higher too.
I think you're pretty darn high already, especially for someone so young. And happy birthday,
I'm
by the
high
way.
off life.
Yeah, good. Well, good.
So where should we begin? I picked out the cards already.
Ah,
Share something unforgettable about the last time I pretended to be someone that I wasn't. Uh,
last time I pretended to be someone I wasn't, something unforgettable. Ooh, the last time I pretended to be someone I wasn't. That's a really good question. I'm going to say that was right before Betty died. I pretended to be someone who had their stuff together, and I didn't. So something
Hmm.
unforgettable about that would be well, from this perspective, just how off I was, how
Hmm.
wrong I was, how out of alignment, how wrong I was about how the whole world works. I thought that the world worked in a completely different way, that you had to prove everything, you had to earn everything, and that there was no such thing as doing something just for fun, even though I did it some. I mean, I was already, we had a beautiful life together. Betty and I, we had a very fun life, a very loving relationship. But I didn't think that that was the purpose of life. I thought the purpose of life was to work hard and prove something and learn things.
Hmm.
And now I know that the purpose of life is joy. That if I choose every single thing I think or say or feel or do based on how joyful it is, my expansion goes through the roof. My freedom is very, very evident. Love is inside me and outside me and all around me. The purpose of life is joy. And so that would be the last time I pretended to be somebody that I wasn't, was the last time I pretended that I was here to somehow prove something or do something for other people. Yeah,
Hmm.
10 years.
That's good.
Thank you. That
I
was a
felt
beautiful
that.
question. Yeah, thank you. I felt it too.
My final questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
The first one is, what is your biggest regret?
My biggest regret would be not doing a civil ceremony with Betty when we had the chance. We were waiting for it to become legal.
Hmm.
So we never even did a civil ceremony, and I regret that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's sad, man.
yeah. It's okay.
Moving on. Yeah.
Moving on.
Who or what has made the biggest impact in your life that makes you who you are today?
Who or what? Boy, there's a lot of people in that category. But right now I'm going to say Esther Hicks. So
Hmm.
Abraham Hicks is Esther
Yeah.
Hicks receiving Abraham. And so
Ah.
she showed the way. I mean, Lordella, got me started, and a lot of other people over the course of my life were just tremendous
Yeah.
leaders and guides for me and support people. And but right now I'm just gonna say Esther Hicks for
Is
sure.
she still alive?
Oh yeah, yeah, she's still doing Abraham Hicks.
Yeah, I listened to some of her old YouTube. I don't think she has any new YouTube videos
Oh
out.
sure, there's new stuff coming out all the time.
There is.
Oh yeah, you go on
Every
YouTube.
time I search her, it's like all the old speeches.
Well, if you go into the YouTube search engine and go
Hmm.
Abraham Hicks and pick a subject,
Hmm.
abortion, grief, death, drugs, whatever, and
Yeah.
and then you'll get a whole list. And now there are a lot of posters or whatever you call those people, the people who put their stuff up, who will
Uh.
falsely put like a 2024 year on there. So there will be some that aren't
Uh.
true, but a lot of them are true. And you can just look and see which is the newest by the year that they were posted, or you can see how long it's been online or whatever. But yeah, no, if you join Abraham Fun. Abraham Fun is a very large, 50 or
Abraham Fun.
67,000 people, and there are people in there that post uh, quotes of Abraham's all the time. And they
Hmm.
typically, a lot of times, will put, like if it's a long one, they'll put the name of the workshop and what day it was held. And you'll see
Hmm.
things that are even just a few months old on there frequently. So yeah, there's a lot of new stuff coming out of Esther Heck. She's not done yet by a long shot. And she's 10 years older than me. She'd be about
Oh, really?
75 now, yeah. Yeah.
I like Wayne Dyer. I listen to Wayne Dyer
Yeah.
a lot. I've
He
been
is
doing
dead now.
his yeah, sadly. I listened to his I am that I am. Have you
Oh
heard of
yeah.
it?
Yeah, yeah, I like
I
that
am
one.
that I am mantra. Just tell
Mhm.
yourself that every day.
Mhm. He did an interview with Esther, you know. I don't
Hmm.
know the name of it, but if you Google it, you know, Wayne Dyer and Esther Hicks interview or whatever. Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's
It's
probably
very
on his
entertaining.
podcast. He had a podcast too.
Probably, or it'd just be on YouTube somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
It was just them talking on a stage. I don't remember where it happened or anything, but very cool interview. Yeah.
My next question is, what is one lesson that you had to learn the hard way?
I had to learn my spirituality the hard way. It took my partner
Hmm.
dying for me to, her death. Like to say that it kind of broke me wide open because if somebody had told me
Uh,
about Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks even 2 weeks before, I wouldn't have paid any attention. A year before, I wouldn't have paid any attention. 2 years before, I wouldn't have paid any attention. I don't think. Hard to know for sure. But after that death and after, with me sitting with where I was and for that information to come into me, that was the turning point. It was everything I needed. I've been a completely different ever since, different person ever since. But I was pretty stubborn. And I don't
hmm.
know that I would have listened unless I really, really, unless my life depended on it. My life literally depended on this time. That's why I listened.
Hmm.
Before that, I think I had too hard of a head.
Why do you think you were so, I guess, entangled or not entangled with your spiritual side up until that point?
That's a great question. So, my spiritual side up until that point consisted of camping and especially fires and sitting under waterfall, near waterfalls, like it
Nature.
involved
Yeah.
nature, right? Every person, every reader of the Bible, every, minister at the front of the church up to that point in my life had said things that felt very hurtful to me, like as a gay person, I'm
Uh,
evil, stuff like that. And as
heard
a
that one
woman, I'm
before.
less than,
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. And so
Hmm.
I felt very protective, very armored against a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, a
Like
lot
not
of,
love.
yeah,
Yeah.
not love, exactly. The
That's more
perception of
hate.
not love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's, I needed a total, transformation in order to go there. I think some people accomplish it, by bits. But for me, in that particular transformation, it was like a hatchet, just old,
It's like you
new.
became a new life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it really feels like that. The longer I go, I mean, 10 years now, it felt like that then. It felt like it a month later. It felt like that a year later. It feels like
Hmm.
that 10 years later. I really think 20 years later, it's still going to feel like my life started October
That's
14th,
crazy.
2014. Yeah,
That's crazy. And you were 55, so
yeah.
that'd be 25 more years for me. That's crazy perspective to
You are so far ahead of where I was at your age.
what?
You don't have to
What?
worry about how long it's going to take or anything. You are so far ahead of where I was at your age. You're very impressive, very inspiring.
I just want to be able to do this. Like my vision for my podcast is to be able to do it full time
Mm,
and to travel and meet people in person and to have like a whole studio where I just
yeah.
like fly people in and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
But
Beautiful.
yeah, I mean, we're only here in these meat suits for
Yeah, the meat suit.
up to 100 years,
Well, and we
so
don't
might
know
as
how
well do
long, do
something.
we? We don't know how
Hmm.
long. Betty died. She was 20 years older than me. So when I was 55, she was 75. And so a lot of people would say, well, that was a nice long life, but we really thought she had another 20
Hmm.
years in her. I mean, there was
Yeah.
no sign of her stopping. And then, of course, a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer pretty much puts the kibosh on all that
Hmm.
these days. But yeah, so we don't know how long we have. I don't know if I've got another 10 minutes or another 10
Tomorrow.
years or, yeah,
Yeah.
right? And so it's all the more reason for us to really get focused here and now.
Hmm.
Here and now, it's the only thing we have. And it's the only way we can enjoy it. If we're focused in the past or if we're focused in the future, we're not living our lives. We're just a meat suit, like you said. The meat suit. I love that. I'm gonna use it. Uh,
My next question is, what would you do or experience in life if time and money was not an issue?
hmm. Well, I firmly believe that time and money is actually not an issue. Kind of live my whole life that way. But would I do more than
Yeah.
I'm already doing? I already live on this beautiful place. I live in a chalet on the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere. It's so beautiful. And since we're on,
Where do
are
you
we
live?
on? I
Or
live
where
in
are
the
you
mountains of
located?
Georgia right now. Yeah,
Georgia.
yeah. I was actually born and mostly raised in Maryland, but I've lived all over the country. I've lived in North Carolina.
Oh,
California
I
for
grew
quite a
up in
bit.
Delaware.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm from
Grew
Maryland,
up in
so yeah,
Delaware. Yeah.
we were neighbors. But yeah, so what would I do? Well, I would travel probably more than I do now. Um, if I could just, click my heels and be anywhere, I'd go to Patagonia, I'd go to Iceland, I'd spend a couple of months in Venice. I love Venice, Italy, and I would spend a couple of months there as a late native. I want to learn Italy while I'm there, not beforehand, while I'm
Mm.
there. I want to learn Italian. And let's see, what else would I do? Well, I would just even more than I do. I mean, this is what I kind of like try to do every day more than the previous day. Like every day,
Yeah.
what can I do that's
Progress.
more free, that's more abundant, that's more loving, that's more
Mhm.
outflowing of what I have and who I am and what I am, to just be more to the world. I guess I would take my
Yeah.
message even more and more to the world. Um, in ways that I haven't thought of yet. I would think of some really cool ways though. If I had just unlimited budget, that would be really cool.
Just take over the world. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I love that. Just be a radiant light of hope everywhere you go. And I
Absolutely.
think I think that's one thing anyone, if you take away from this in your everyday life, wherever you get a coffee or you go to the dog park and see somebody,
Hmm.
just try to be shining all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
So, my final question is, can you share something about your journey of discovering who you are now that you want to resonate?
Say the question again.
Share something about your journey of discovering who you are now that would resonate with the audience.
Something about my journey. It gets better and better. That's what I want to share. It gets better and better. You know, almost every movie or magazine or TV show that you see would make it sound like it gets worse and worse. And that can be our life experience. That certainly was my life experience in my 50s. It gets worse and worse. But it doesn't. It gets better and better. So start now because it gets better and better. There's so much to look forward to. Things that you can't even remotely dream of right now are just outside your your sight right now. But they're there and they're waiting for you and they're calling to you. Start down that new path now. And if you miss now, then do it now. And if you missed it just now, then do it now. But start now. Whenever now you can get around to it, but start now. That's my message. It gets better.
Ramona Galey, everyone. Where can people go check you out if they want to check you out?
RamonaGaley.com. RamonaGaley.com. Now, I don't know if I ever sent you this link or not, but I have a free gift for your listeners. It's a free private podcast. Never been published, never will be published. It's just a
Hmm.
series of episodes that I've done with colleagues and friends, where they come in and ask me questions about a particular topic, one topic per episode. The host picks the topic, and then I answer the questions. And it's really
Hmm.
fun and it's really wonderful. It's very heartwarming and full of really great information and tips and tricks on how to do some of these things we've been talking about. So that's at ramonagailey.com/private hyphen podcast. So, but I'll I'll send you that link. You have a like a comment section where you can put stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they won't find
So
that on my
go.
main website. It's not advertised for the general
Okay.
public. It's just for you guys.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. All right, good.
So everyone go check her out.
Thank you.
And I hope Ramona Galey left you more hopeful than you were before you listened to this.
That's a lovely thing.
And as always, everyone, stay curious. Don't give up. You got this.
Yeah. Thomas, this has
Peace.
been wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, peace.